Chris. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a recent show I just watched. I mean, everybody else talk about it. Everybody else is watching it. Well, today I'm going to be discussing it to you in all its full 80s glory. I am, of course, talking about Stranger Things, if you saw the title below and all that good stuff. Stranger Things, it's a show about a missing kid who gets transported to another dimension, and what they have to do is that they have to go find him, but they don't know where he is. And so out comes out of the woodwork this girl, and she has this, these magical powers, and she's like E.T. and all that, which I'll get to later. Overall, this show has been something amazing. It is a love letter to all the 80s horror film. I mean, you have, some Steven Spielberg, heavily influenced on E.T., especially with the girl. And there's a government agency that's trying to take the girl because they know that she has this connection, and she has this, other connection to this other, world, and that's why she is doing what she's doing. Millie Bobby Brown is an amazing actress who shows, her whole entire sense of being. She shows that, her character is vulnerable, and I love that. Like there's a reason why I like the movie Chronicle. Chronicle was an amazing, found footage film. Millie Bobby Brown is an amazing actress. She gives it such strength. She gives it, dexterity to her character. I mean, I love, going back to Chronicle, I love how, when she overuses her powers, her nose starts to bleed. It shows that, yes, she is all powerful. Yes, she could do all these things, but she really is, is sensitive, and it kind of grounds her character. She's not this, big old E.T., if somebody finds her, it'll expose everything kind of deal. I really love Winona Ryder's character in it. I love her as a stressed out mom. You get her character. I mean, she's a single parent. She's trying to raise her two kids on her own, get the emotional struggle, and I think that this is a solid return to form for Winona Ryder, because she has been out of action for a while. David Harbour. David Harbour is an amazing sheriff in town. At first he's like, we're gonna look for a little bit, but we're not gonna fully invest in finding this kid. What keeps the show grounded is the three kids. And their friendship and all that. I really like the kid with the hat, who's kind of a take on Chunk. Kind of, he has a lisp, and he's a smart aleck, and the thing about these kids is that, they cuss, of course a kid will say, shit, of course a kid will say all these different, things and all these references and all that. Another thing I like about the movie is that, about the show, is that everything is grounded within its own universe. I mean, everything fits flowingly. One complaint I do have about it is the teenage romance aspect. I wish it kept more to the kids, but that's just a minor complaint. But when it did get to, I think it was Nancy and Jonathan, those two characters, when they were together, those two teenagers worked well, instead of Jean-Ralphio from Parks and Recreation. I think that the show really did its service. I mean, it's only 8 episodes on Netflix, so it was an easy binge watch, especially if you're, if you have nothing to do, or if you're bedridden or anything like that. Have an excuse to binge watch Stranger Things. Slow build at first, but when it does get into the nitty gritty of the government agency, you do not want this government agency, to be, to tackle with these kids, and you want 11, Millie Bobby Brown's character, to be safe. You want her to be, safe away from all these bad guys. And yes, it is cliched. There are really cliched parts in this, but where it does count, it really counts. So I think that putting it all together in a nice little 80s little love letter. I definitely see a lot of E.T. in there. I see some John Carpenter. I see a little bit of Lucas sparkled in there a little bit. Even the Goonies. The Goonies is a huge thing, especially with the kids. I really like when they're trying to find these supernatural beings. These supernatural beings that capture this kid, and I really love everybody trying to look and this mystery and this suspense. And boom, it ends and you're like, okay, I need to see what happens next. I want to see what happens next. That is brilliant. That is brilliant to keep you hooked in like that. I think that everybody all the other, you have the typical teenage assholes and you have everybody who's the cliche of the thing, but the cliche is the cliche of trying to make the plot moving, And so I think that, everything aside, it's just one cheesy love letter to the 80s, especially with kids mystery horror films. I think overall it is an amazing watch to see. We might go into detail about it on a future podcast, who knows, but everybody else is out of commission this week, so I thought that I should bring something out to you guys. Need I say more? It's a beautiful show, beautifully executed. The writing, the language, the dialogue, everything like that. The main stars to me is Winona Ryder, Millie Bobby Brown, and David Harbour. Them three are just amazing, and I cannot wait to see what Winona Ryder has up next. I can't wait to see another season. It opened up, it left off on a perfect note, but it does leave an ending of interpretation. So that's a really cool factor of that you can go off from that and do a second season. So without further ado, I'm Kyle Lira. That was my main thoughts on Stranger Things. You can check out our podcast on iTunes and even YouTube. You can check out our After Darks, where we go sit in a car and sweat our butts off while we talk about a movie, or check out our Under the Spotlights, where I go into detail about a movie that I like, that's relevant of the time. So without further ado, I'm Kyle Lira. Check us out, subscribe if you haven't already, like and do all that stuff. Anyway, bye-bye.